call this meeting of the South Record Board of Education together at 6:37. And we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on our agenda is the roll call. Could you call the roll, Mr. Winston? Oh, before I say this, before I ask it. Cheryl Hernandez's mom passed away this morning, and Misha will not be attending this meeting. So Mr. Winston has decided that he would take the minutes. Thank you.
Good job, Mr. Winston. I was afraid you was going to ask me. It's been so long since I've done it.
I know. Mr. Winston, would you please call the roll?
Daniel Winston, present. Misha Early,
Absent.
Amanda Flesher,
Absent.
Cheryl Flesher,
Absent.
Lori Hicks,
Present?
Anthony Johnson,
Present.
Shirley Tyler.
Present. Next item on the agenda is the approval of agenda. Are there any corrections to the agenda? We have none. The agenda will be as written. Next item on the agenda is Superintendent Communications. Mr. Bob.
Thank you, Madam President. So it is my pleasure this evening to share with members of the Board of Education as well as our audience members that last week our fifth graders from all four of our elementary schools were at camp, and they had an outstanding time learning outdoor skills and enjoying the camaraderie and company of one another amongst other fun activities at camp. And so even though winter was back for portions of last week, our fifth graders and our chaperones of some high schoolers from Thurston, as well as parents, as well as staff members, did a phenomenal job, and it was a pleasant experience for all. And that concludes my communications this evening, Madam President.
Question.
Yes.
Is it all fifth graders now? Because I know in years past it was the fifth graders from two schools and fifth graders from two schools.
It is, yes.
Okay, that's cool because they're all going into that
Isn't that
same
great?
middle school.
Yes.
So,
That's good. Next item on the agenda is board communications. Do I have any board members with communications? Well, I have one. On Thursday, April 25th at 5:30, the MASB Awards ceremony, and it's being hosted by Harper Woods Board of Education, and it's going to be at the College and Career Institute at 20570 Kelly Road in Harper Woods.
to the chair.
Yes?
I will not be at the April 8th meeting. I will be out of town. Okay.
Next item on the agenda is comments from the audience. Are there any? Okay. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Do I have a board member willing to adopt the consent agenda?
Tipsy.
Yes?
Adopted.
Do I have a support?
Support.
It's been moved by Mr. Johnson and supported by Mrs. Hicks. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's 4 ayes. Adopted. Next item on the agenda is discuss the custodial maintenance and ground service contract extension, Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Madam President. The district currently contracts with ABM to provide district-wide custodial maintenance and ground services. The contract, approved by the Board of Education on May 22nd, 2023, covered the period of July 1st, 2023 through June 30th of 2024. During this period, ABM has provided custodial maintenance and ground services to the expectations that are outlined in the contract. Overall, we are pleased with the services provided and have identified some areas for improvement. Therefore, we believe that it is appropriate to extend the contract. We have negotiated the terms of a proposed extension that are favorable to the district. Based on the terms of the extension and ABM's overall performance during the past few years, we are recommending that this contract be extended to include the period of July 1st, 2024 through June 30th of 2025. And Madam President, this is just to discuss this evening. I know you serve on that committee as well.
Yes.
I don't know if there's any additional information that you'd like to share with the board members here this evening, or if what I had just mentioned was ample and sufficient for tonight's discuss as the board weighs in.
The only thing I'd like to add is that since the Innovation Center, we've added 8 more people for and we were pleased with the custodial, so that's one of the reasons why we decided to extend their contract. That's it. Next item on the agenda is consider Fisher.
Madam President.
Oh,
Question.
I'm sorry, yes.
On the, you said you added 8.
Well, what had happened last year when the contract expired, and we had decided that we needed more custodians because of the Innovation Center, and we also wanted a couple more for the grounds. So they had added that 8 people. So then we decided to add another contract this year.
Okay.
And it,
Yeah, because they're handling it, but I know when we create new positions, typically the board has to approve them, so I'm just questioning.
no, we didn't,
We didn't add 8 positions, we had them
they
add 8.
added.
It's kind of a play on
Yeah.
words, but basically the same thing. Okay.
All right. Next item on the agenda is the Fisher Elementary School, Pierce Middle School abatement project.
Thank you, Madam President. At the board meeting on March 11th, 2024, the board discussed the Fisher and Pierce abatement project. Bids were solicited and received for the work. The company that is recommended for the work required is Global Green Services Group for $224,800. At 10% contingency, total expenses not to exceed $247,280 is requested to cover any unforeseen costs associated with the projects. The bid award would be paid for out of the 2021 bond. Madam President, a resolution is attached for board consideration.
Do I have a board member willing to adopt the resolution?
Sure.
Mr. Johnson. I know, same thing, but I didn't want to call you by your first name. Do I have a support? Support. It's been adopted by Mr. Johnson, supported by Mrs. Hicks. All in favor?
Aye.
4 ayes, any nays, 0 nays. Resolution adopted. Next item on the agenda is discuss and consider CTE program hand tools project. Mr. Roberts.
Thank you, Madam President. This is on tonight's agenda as both a discuss and a consider for the board for the purchase of CTE hand tools. Bids were solicited and received for the work. The company that is recommended for the work required is CTE Hand Tools, Tech World LLC for $49,911.56. This would be paid for out of our general funds. And we are submitting for the Margaret Dunning Foundation grant this year. And I have provided an update to the Board of Education last week that it would be our intentions that we would receive the Margaret Dunning grant yet again this year, in which then the money would not come out of general funds. But in an effort to put these hand tools into the hands of our students as quickly as possible, I am recommending to the board a consideration this evening in hopes that we'll get approved for the Margaret Dunning grant to not impact the general fund. And these are the remaining tools to really continue to outfit the remainder of the automotive lab space for career technical education over at Thurston High School. Madam President, a resolution is attached for board consideration following the discussion or any questions that the board might have.
Do you have anyone that needs to discuss this?
To the chair.
Yes.
I'm not going to support this mainly because we're taking more funds out of the general fund. We already took $3 million last year. We have no guarantee that the Margaret Dunning Fund is going to reimburse. So I will be voting no on this.
Understood.
Anyone else?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
That's the only grant that can apply for, that would,
At this time, yes. But in the future, there will be other grants.
like in this fiscal year.
Probably not this, possibly in the future.
And then those funds would just basically go back.
So, and some of these tools that are on the purchase list this evening are needed for final program approval from the state, so that then we can receive additional monies from both the state as well as through future Perkins funding from the federal government as well. So some of these tools are required for final program certification. So this is just where we're at in the next step of the process.
So some of the money will still get recouped anyway
Correct.
through the federal government.
But we can't get all program approval until we have all the necessary tools for our students to be able to perform the skills for this particular program.
So when do we have to have this resolution adopted?
I mean, my encouragement would be tonight. However, if I certainly respect where Lori's at this evening. We could have it on a future board agenda following tonight's discussion when we're closer to having a full board. Or if it's the will of the board, we could also wait until we're closer to next school year, but just understand that the program can't get all of its final approval, which would bring additional funding and opportunities for our students as soon as possible until we put these tools in their hands.
Okay, what's the will of the board?
I mean, it says, regardless of the fact that we might not get that grant, or maybe not, but we still want to receive funds from the federal government when we purchase the last bit of tools required. I mean, you're gonna get federal funding, so it's not gonna be a full 50,000, less than that, because you're gonna receive funds from the federal government as well. So we receive funds from the federal government and that grant, it will actually be more.
And the state too.
And the state.
Okay, I have another question.
Because the full program can't be approved
I understand.
without the necessary tools to perform the standards and the skills.
Is there a certain date that we will be getting funds from the federal government?
There is, but I do not know that date this evening. the state approval process happens first. So we have some deadlines that we're trying to meet for April the 11th. And then there will be another opportunity to apply for next school year as well.
I said regardless, it's still, funds are gonna come regardless. But that fact is, you're gonna get money from the state and the federal government without the grant. Then once you apply for the grants, you'll actually put that back, plus, I'm saying that right? Correct. So more actually we'll get in the future by getting ahead of the game, ahead of the curve now.
And if the board were to move forward with the consider tonight, we could follow up with the company tomorrow. If not, then that delays the time in which the tools would actually be in the hands of our students, especially for the remainder of this school year.
So we would not have the tools in the students' hands if we don't approve this tonight.
We would not have them as quickly. We would not have them as quickly.
The chair.
Yeah.
My understanding when we agreed to do all this, that the Dunning was going to be supplying all the tools we needed. And now you're telling us, oh, no, we forgot, they're not going to supply the hand tools. So I'm still going to be a no on it.
Understood, yeah.
I'm not saying that I won't be a yes as we get more information, but at this point, we were already told by the Dunning Corporation that they were supplying all the tools.
They did provide quite a bit of equipment to us. This list was not provided to the Margaret Dunning Foundation. We were unaware that we needed these items for the program's full certification at that point in time.
Then I would rather.
So this is a
wait
new-
till
this
we
is a
have
new
full
discovery.
Or a fuller report.
Sure. Yeah, and this is a newer discovery, and that's why we wanted to try to keep it moving as swiftly as possible. But I certainly respect where you're at. So, Madam President,
Our next meeting is April
8th.
8th.
So it could be a discuss and a consider tonight as written for the record, or it could just be a discuss. But my encouragement would be to follow the agenda as written, and should somebody move the adoption of that agenda item forward and bring it to a vote.
To adjourn.
Yes.
So, it seems like the Innovation Center is, has had a couple hiccups getting stuff in, as far as getting approvals and stuff done at this time. How will these tools not being in affect timelines with this? I know we said we can wait till the next meeting, but my concern is always, we spent a lot of money to this point getting the Innovation Center together. And I know that we want to get it up and running for our students and for the community and things like that. So if we don't vote on it today and we wait till the next meeting, how does that throw off the timeline for things getting up and running in your mind, just estimated?
It definitely delays the time in which these tools will be in the hands of Thurston High School students, particularly the automotive students. In fact, I was in the superintendent and student advisory committee meeting at Thurston High School last week, and two of the students in there are both in the automotive program at Thurston High School. And the students are ready for these tools to do the next skills that they need. So it would certainly delay the time frame in which they would have the tools to be able to complete those competencies for that program by at least a few weeks. And then in terms of funding, it could have implications on the April 11th deadline, but we have a board meeting before April 11th. And I'm also not sure where the program approval is for automotive, but there would be another opportunity to apply even if April 11th becomes a hurdle. So we would have another opportunity to apply for next school year. But my thinking is similar to what's been shared, is that we want to keep things moving, put tools in students' hands as quickly as possible so that students have the opportunity to interact with the tools, demonstrate the competencies, hit the necessary deadlines for program approvals, which then allows us to submit our information to the state as well as to the federal government when we get to that time frame as well.
The only thing that I'm concerned about is, since we do not have a full board, and since Lori had said that she's not going to go, yes for it, then it would not be able to pass.
Understand?
So what I would like to do, if it's okay with the board, is bring a discuss tonight and a consider for our next board. Is that the will of the board?
I'm good with that.
Is everybody good with that?
As long as it's not gonna hurt the students. That's just my
And
biggest
and I
thing.
understand.
That's always my thing. I don't wanna put something on hold for, I don't wanna make it seem like that for $50,000 that can help the students, because our students have been waiting to get this going. So this is my thing. I don't wanna
And-
hold it up
And I
for.
understand what you're saying,
Yeah, so,
but
Because it's about a money thing, $50,000.
no, it's not. If we don't, all four of us don't vote yes tonight, then it would not pass. So that's what I'm saying.
To the board.
Yes?
Part of my question is I'm questioning, who is actually running the CTE program, and did they not know that we were going to need these tools
They did not.
long before?
They did not.
How did they not know?
So this is a new,
I'm sorry, and I don't mean to
No.
interrupt, but I'm going to. It's their job to know what was required.
understood.
And all of this was bid out prior, approved prior, and now they're coming back saying we need another 50,000. We just put out 3 million plus the whole bond to put that CTE together, and now we're going like, oh, by the way, we need more.
Understood. And to your question, that was not known at the time of the original list for the hefty purchase that we already did for automotive over at Thurston High School. And I hear what you're saying. That was not known at that time, but it is known at this time. And to the piece with the bond, these are primarily hand tools. So the vast majority of these tools that are listed here cannot be purchased with bond monies because the tools are too small. They don't really fit the criteria to utilize bond funds for those. And that's where we're trying to work with the Margaret Dunning Foundation in hopes that the grant would come through again. There is cautious optimism that we'll be favored again to possibly receive the Margaret Dunning grant, but we won't know that for some time. So I hear where you're coming from. Because had we known that at the time, then we would have put these hand tools through at that point in time as well. We didn't know then what we know now.
That seems to be a regular, just a regular cascade with this stuff. Is who's ever in charge of that CTE doesn't know now, or didn't know then what they know now. Because this is the first time. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Now, what I need to know is the automotive at Thurston is different from the actual CTE, correct?
It's part of, even though it's in a different location. But it is underneath the umbrella of career technical education. even though it has a different physical space at their
So
school.
if we don't vote on this, if we don't pass this tonight, then the $49,000, that's gonna come out of our general funds, right?
If it's passed tonight, it would, yes.
And then if we,
Or if it's passed on April 8th, it would come out of general fund. Because we can't expense it to bond, and that's where we're hopeful that we'll be able to use the Margaret Dunning grant, but we won't know that for a couple more months yet.
okay, that's not, okay, if the Margaret Dunning Fund, we don't get that grant,
Yes.
then there's still a possibility that we can get a federal government, right?
We could look for that. We could look for it. You know, there would be no guarantees, but we could look for that. And we would also look for other career technical education grants through the state of Michigan, like Trustee Johnson pointed out as well. Although the school year is winding down, so we're not aware of any remaining for this year, but we would certainly look at that again. And then we would also look for grants for next year as well. But again, these hand tools at some point in time will require board action. If we want to get that program approved to receive additional funding resources from the state of Michigan as well as from the federal government, our students are required to work with the tools that are on that list. And without working with the tools on that list, then we cannot submit for full maximum funding from the state or from the federal government for the program approval until we have such. So at some point, that will need to be considered by the board,
Sure.
whether it's tonight or April 8th.
And I think that's where I'm going with this. It's not like this is, I mean, let's really say, forget the automotive program. We have to make a decision on this. And I don't think we can wait 2 months to see if we can get, you know, the more money from the Margaret Dunning Foundation. It's like, the more time we wait, the more time we,
That is, and I understand what you're saying, but that is not my thing.
yeah, I know that we can't vote on it because we don't have enough votes, but I just don't want this to be something. So if we vote on it 2 weeks from now and 4 people say no, they don't want, I don't know what the other options are. It's like, I just don't want this to be a thing that, this is not an optional buy at this point to me. It's like we need these tools in order to get our program certified. So I know we have to wait because we don't have the vote, but I just don't want this to be a thing where we get the full board here and it's still, it's like, this is not optional. We gotta pay for this stuff. So I just want to say that, again, we can't do it today, but I just want to say that this is not an optional. We don't want to get tools.
I just think we should wait until we have a full board because right now, tonight, I already know it won't pass. So, I think I just would feel a little more comfortable if we waited till April 8th to vote.
Because I feel like, you know, we're going down this train track regardless. It's like you can't go, you know, and if it's the CTE person's fault or whoever it is, it's like we still need to do what we need to do for the students.
Well,
And
we still, I understand that, we still need the tools in order for the state to pass or agree to, we still need these tools, I understand. But I feel that if we wait for a full board, then it'll pass, for sure. So, does anybody else need a discussion on this?
Plus, Owen's fine.
So, Mr. Bob will put on our agenda for April 8th,
Yes.
and we will probably have to discuss at that time there any more discussion? No? Okay. Next item on the agenda is discuss and consider superintendent employment contract. Ms. Hicks, would you take that?
Thank you. I was assigned it to be the chairman of this committee. The committee did meet together. It's Mr. AJ, Anthony Jansen, Amanda Fletcher, and myself. We did not come to a full agreement on the committee as to the recommendation. However, it was 2-1 not to renew the contract for a further year. And one of our committee members also asked, because questions that came up were surrounding scores and communication. A member of our committee asked that we come back together with suggestions on how to improve those things so that we can move forward. That's all I have at this time.
To the chair.
Yes.
Lori, so when you say scores, you mean like our district scores?
Yes.
They want scores to be higher, or what was the expectation when they said scores?
We are below county scores even.
Mhm.
We used to be above county, below state. Now we are even below county.
So, the board member feels like that is a direct correlation to what the superintendent is not doing, or, I guess I'm trying to understand, since I've been on the board, the test scores have been low. And from what I'm seeing, they're going up, but, we're gonna go back to that C word that we all don't like to talk about.
Right.
That's the reason, but they're going up in some areas. So, I guess, what's the expectation that we go from very low to county because it's been 2 years. I mean, it's been about 2 years since Jason's been here. And so the expectation is to go from very low to county within 2 years, because there's only so much education, so much teaching that can go forth in 2 years. So I guess I'm not understanding the expectation of why that has been something that has been put on Jason's plate as is his fault right now. And as far as the communication piece, I guess I'm trying to understand what that means as far as him not talking to us individually, or because we get board communications via emails, text messages consistently. So I guess I was trying to understand, like, what do they mean by when they say communication? If you know.
I don't know specifically,
Okay.
and the person that brought that up is a major person's not here today,
Okay.
so I can't direct
Okay.
that question. As far as our scores, that I can address, because as I look at it, and, could be wrong, but I think all these other schools also went through that C word none of us like to talk about, and their scores are much better than ours. So are we missing, what pieces are we missing? Because we put a lot of money into adding employees, adding positions to bring our kids up to where they should be. And at this point, I'm looking at, we're not even hitting, like, we're educating half of our students. That's pretty abysmal to me. That's all I can tell you.
So, when we look at our county, are we comparing, I guess we can go to Livonia, and they have a different demographic than us when it comes to their student population. But if we look at Detroit, I'm sure our test scores are better than Detroit's test scores when it comes to.
I did not look at Detroit specifically, so I can't answer
Yeah,
that.
and so I always look at demographics, because if it's comparing apples to apples, are we looking at school districts that are 85, 90% black, or are we looking at school districts that are 80, 90% Caucasian?
I am typically just looking at where the county is at
Mhm.
and where we are at.
Because there's some
That's-
very, there's some school districts in our county that are very, very, very good.
I'm not gonna dispute that.
Yeah, and so I guess when we look within our county, what are we looking at?
May I also remind you, when we were at county level or above, that those same schools were in our county?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yep.
that's all I'm saying.
Yep, understood.
Okay.
So I guess I'm just, at what time are we speaking? I mean, I don't know, when were we at county level? I mean, we've been on the board,
Prior to COVID.
okay. So, when I first got on the board, test scores were low. And we took we decided to give our superintendent a 2-year extension during COVID, when the committee said that they did not want to give an extension. So what's different now with Jason being 2 years in, and the test scores were low then, test scores are lower now, but they're going up. I guess I can see they were going down. And we're like, well, we're doing worse. They're upticks. And I know personally, because I'm going around, that the morale of the district is better. From teachers to administrators, because when I first got on this board, they called this office the cave, because no one from this office ever went out and cared about what was going on in the schools. They would say, Mr. Winston, that's the cave over there. They don't never come out. I know that at least Jason is out in the schools, communicating, and the morale is better within the schools. And it wasn't like that when I first got on this board. So if nothing else, because the morale is different, and people actually feel like central office cares about what's going on in the schools, it's why I think that Jason is doing a good job in that effect, because at least schools don't feel like central office doesn't care.
Well, Mr. Winston, I'm not going to dispute that, because I don't know for a fact whether that's true or not. But you're more than welcome to vote your conscience, as will I,
Yes.
as will everybody here.
Mm-hmm. And this isn't discussed. I mean, you're discussed.
Actually, it's a consider,
No, I'm talking
discuss
about
and
right now.
consider.
Yeah, we're just discussing.
Right,
So, yeah, I mean, so,
right.
yeah.
I mean, to me, our scores are imperative. They need to be at least at 50%.
To the chair.
Yes.
I'm still fairly new to this. We are allowed to talk about what we talked about in a meeting here today. Okay. What I said was, we have to look at all of it, the totality of the complete circumstance. Coming into COVID, a lot of these children lost a lot of loved ones. Grandmothers, aunties, sisters, brothers, etc. Then they heard the adults talk, which a lot of adults don't think these kids listen, but they do. The fear of coming back into a school and thinking that this thing is in the air and it's going to get me like the boogeyman. You have to take all of these things into consideration when you're teaching children. That's just one factor. Now you have the factor of some, not all. Some of these teachers don't want to teach these children.
True,
That's a fact.
it's okay. I do know that.
Then the state comes in and change the demographics of how they teach. Now you have a teacher that's been teaching a certain way most of her career or his career, and it works for them. But now they have to change their whole dynamics of teaching. And now they have to learn this and then teach these kids in a manner in which they don't know how to. When you start putting all these little equations together into this one pot, that's when you get some, not all, some of your problems with test scores. My issue with test scores, talking about the county level test scores and the district level test scores. There are how many districts in the county? If you break them down by districts, what do the test scores look like? Because me going into these schools, a lot of these teachers are handling themselves correctly. And these kids love to go to school. They're loving to come to school because they do the little media thing where they get the weather report and the news. And they look forward to that. So these teachers are connecting with these children. So that's the first step. If they're not going to learn anything if they don't trust you. First of all, no one's going to that old don't talk to strangers concept. These kids are, from what I've seen, coaching in the youth program from ages 7 to 13. When I talk to them about school, they all had a specific teacher that they love, and they will go to bat for that teacher. It's amazing to watch a little 8-year-old talk about how much they love their teacher. So that's when you're talking about, that's the building point, that's the foundation that we need to sit on. And as a board, I feel that it is our job, not our job, it's our duty to find ways to help this man, help these teachers, to help these kids. But I got mixed up with it's not my job to do. And then I have one board member that is person. So you can't take this. If I was to vote this man out of office, he's still going to be my friend. Because business is business. And that's how you distinguish the difference. And as two grown men, we can understand that. And I should be able to tell him, hey, Mr. Bob, and you should be able to come to me. Hey, AJ, And that's how you build a connection with each other. It's more people that saying yes to this man than are saying no. So if I take 100 people and 10 of them don't like it, and I fix everything for these 10 people, they're like, what I just do for these 90? You just messed up your whole program. So I'm like, we have to come up with ways to fix it and not just talk about
Yes.
So, Chairman, I remember when we voted Jason in, I voted no. I said no for Jason to be the superintendent because I went and polled the schools and they did not think that Jason could do the job. And after that, me and Jason had a conversation. I said, Jason, I didn't vote for you. However, I'm going to treat you as a superintendent and not hold that against you in any way.
Right.
And I think me and Jason have a great working relationship. We have great conversations. And I think that he has moved the district forward in a lot of areas because when I first got on this board, I'm like, some revenue is about to blow up because it was that bad in schools. It's not like that anymore. Test scores, I agree with Lori 100%, need to do better. But I know that inside of the schools, there's an energy of we need to do better. And before, everybody's like, forget these schools, I'm trying to get out of here. I don't even want to teach here anymore. We have teachers who want to teach. We have students who want to learn. That wasn't the thing 3-4 years ago when I got on this board. It wasn't that. Teachers were ready to go because they did not feel like anyone cared about them. No one listened to them. So just on that right there is why I feel Jason has done a great job because people want to be here now. So even though I didn't vote for him for superintendent, I think he's doing a good job of bringing the district together.
Yes, to the chair. May I remind you, his current contract still is in existence all the way through 2026. All this will do
is not necessarily give him an automatic renewal for 27. So he has time to correct the situation.
Yes,
That's all I'm saying,
I agree.
okay?
Any more discussions? Well, I have something to say. I voted for Jason as superintendent. And I can see a difference. And I feel that, no, our scores are not 50%, but I see that they're going up. They're on the upward bound. And I just don't feel that we should vote not to give him a chance. I just, and that's how I feel. So we can take a vote right now, and but like I said, I see our school, the schools are different. I'm in the schools a lot, and I can see that a lot of our administrators do enjoy Jason because he's in the schools. I also see that our scores, they might not be way up here, but they're going up. I can see that. Now, you said that our scores are below the state. Well, there's a lot of districts that their schools are below the state. And if they're not, Lori, I'd like to see what they are.
Please allow me to clarify. I did not
Okay.
say that our scores were above the state. We've never been above the state.
County,
We've been above the county.
okay.
That's where I never said the state.
But I still see them going up.
I'm not going to disagree that they're not going up, but I'm not willing at this time to give another year, especially when I know next year his whole contract is coming up for negotiation. And we can give him 2 more years if he can get those scores up.
So,
So-
the will of the board, are we gonna vote?
Well, it depends, Madam President. I think there would need to be support to move the adoption forward. If there's not support to move the adoption forward, then there would be no vote taken this evening.
And nobody has even moved the resolution.
We haven't moved the resolution.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes, we can do that. I mean,
Because if the resolution doesn't move forward, then there will be no vote.
that's true.
That's what I'm sure.
Yes.
Madam President.
So, yes, do you have a support?
Support.
It's been moved by Mr. Johnson and supported by Mrs. Hicks. All in favor? Aye.
Madam President, the resolution is on the back page.
Yes.
So it would be in support of that resolution as written. So a yes vote would determine to not renew or extend my contract for another year.
Right.
So,
Please
So-
clarify.
so a yes vote means that a board member is not in favor of adding another year. So a no vote would mean you are in favor of adding another year. So Madam President, maybe call a roll call vote. So a yes means you're in support of the resolution as written
Right?
to not add another year. A no vote would mean you believe another year should be added per law automatically.
Okay. Mr. Winston, can you do a roll call, please?
Anthony Johnson,
No.
Lori Hicks,
Yes.
Damon Winston, no. Shirley Tolliver,
No. So it's 3 and 1. So I don't see the resolution passing. Next item on the agenda, comments from the audience. Are there any? No? Next item on the agenda is Plus Delta.
Thank you, Madam President. What processes supported the board's work this evening?
Yeah,
I'd like to open discussion without a lot of drama,
very
a
good.
lot of respect.
Very good.
After today.
Yes.
I'm sorry,
I said I love the dialogue we had today without all the drama. A lot of respect floating around this room, positive energy. Even if we had disagreed upon something, and we move forward like we should.
What opportunities might the board see for improvement?
to the chair.
Yes.
Not having all the board members here was, challenging because we couldn't vote on everything like we wanted to, so that was the delta. We understand the situation was what it was, but still was a challenge not having them here to be able to vote on things.
Back to you, Madam President.
Okay. If there's no further business that comes before this board, I adjourn the meeting at 7:30.